busy. I finally figured out what my problem was.
Oh, no worries.
I spend so much of my day nowadays talking to people that it's just become my whole day is talking to people. So I'm treasuring that solitude a little bit more.
If you're going to be in the center, that's fine. Or you can put it on.
I'll put it on because I kind of tend to walk over this way a little bit. But it's nice. It's just it just gets tiring for me a little bit. Although I'm an extrovert, it does get exhausting because with the holiday season, it's work or social or work and work and work and more work and then social and stuff. So it's always talking to people. So it's just become.
7 days a week, so now you mean.
It's exhausting. Yeah. But otherwise, it's good. I'm not complaining at all.
Ready for Christmas?
What's that?
Ready for Christmas?
Yeah, ask me that on Sunday.
Sunday, right?
Sunday. And the answer will be no. So.
I like New Year's. New Year's always disappears.
I like Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving's my favorite because it's every good thing about Christmas without the presents. Like it's family, food, socializing, a little bit of time off. Be grateful for things, but without the presents and the obligation that people always seem to have. Right on. Okay, we're gonna have to wait then.
Okay.
How you doing? Good seeing you, buddy. Is Mike's stuff ready? I can get started?
I think you can start here.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so we'll get started. I want to thank everybody for coming here tonight. I'm just a little casually today. I don't know what to tell you. That's all I got. So that's where we're at. What we're going to do today is we're going to do an Ask Me Anything. And I do that right now because typically what I've been doing, there's a lot of new people here. Probably about half of the people here are new, look like first timers. And what we've been doing is I've been modifying this a little bit by bringing in people and doing targeted interviews, almost like a talk show kind of a style where I guide them through, let people ask questions, we talk about things, or I do presentations where I'm presenting information about what the purpose of this group is, about multifamily, different aspects of it. We address all different things from finding properties, finding property managers, capital raising, underwriting, talking to brokers, all of that stuff. So we go through all those different things. So today is kind of also like a Christmas present to me because it's like a break. So right now what I need to do is go over what are some logistics. And what does that mean? Well, as I'm associated with AZREIA, that means that they get their advertisement here in a sense. And so we always start out with the disclaimer. Okay, so apparently people get offended if I say things like, well, you all are all adults, so you should act like adults. Younger people apparently are offended by that sort of speak because apparently it's condescending. And I say, well, if you acted like an adult, you probably wouldn't be offended by that. So I will try to stop being mean and condescending. So the point here being that we're all going to talk about a lot of different things. There's a couple people that are in here that are extremely knowledgeable. This is not the gospel according to these people, right? You need to vet everybody you talk with. You may find somebody in this room that you want to do a deal with or that you want to contract with or associate with in some way, shape, or form. That's on you. That's not on me. I haven't worked with everybody. I haven't vetted everybody. So just I'm saying, be aware. If you're a CPA, that's great. If you're not, don't come off like you are and that you know everything, okay? And if you are a CPA, you're most likely not giving advice because you would rather charge people for that, and it's just much more lucrative for you. But I think you guys understand the point that I'm trying to get at. See, I want to say it. We're all adults. Take responsibility for your actions. I'm sorry if you're offended by that. Okay, fair enough. AZREIA is part of the National RIA, which means that if you are a member of AZREIA, you're also a member of National RIA, which means there are a variety of partners that have benefits or that have deals that you can participate in. So one of the biggest ones that a lot of people participate in is going to be the Home Depot Pro account, where if you spend X amount of money per year, roughly $2,000, $2,500, then you get a discount back. I believe it's right around 2% or something like that. So they also give discounts on paint, cabinetry, that I don't know if it's unique to RIA or the National RIA, but I do know that it's more than most people off the street are going to get. There's also a couple other businesses. Again, these are nationwide businesses that will provide certain services. IDACORP, I know people use for skip tracing. Rent Perfect people use if you're a landlord. Some of the other services that people offer. And then simultaneously, we have a variety of local memberships here. So if you come to the monthly meetings, the fellow from Zona Law Group, I'll apologize because I'm blanking on his name, he actually provides a lot of great information about the legislature, what's going on in Arizona, at the Capitol, laws that are coming up for vote, bills, things such as that. You can use Boomerang, again, capital merchant, funding. Again, if you're looking for capital, Net Worth Realty, they're kind of like wholesalers and also funding for those deals, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So if you have any questions, I'm familiar with about a little less than half of these different companies. And so I'm more than happy to share everything that I know. If you're looking for something, there are, along these lines, because this is multifamily, there aren't a lot of multifamily services up here. There are, obviously, title agency, pad split. We can talk about pad split, property management, and things like that. I'm happy to tell you about anything that I know. If you're looking for brokers, if you're looking for how to raise capital, if you're looking for title companies, if you're looking for lenders in the multifamily space, property management companies, just reach out to me. I've been doing this for a little bit, and I made a lot of different contacts, and I can provide my opinion. And I will always tell you if I know nothing about this person. I'm never going to pass somebody off to you as if he's a partner or I vetted this person if it's not true. I'm never going to do that because my reputation is part of this. Ideally, these slides won't be too old. I think they're actually current. The monthly meeting for AZREIA is the second Monday of the month. It's 1 month before this. They provide a lot of great market information. Also, a lot of these vendors will be there that you can talk to personally. And I'll be honest with you, you can pump these guys for free information. It's great. I do it all the time. If I have something that's kind of on my mind. Upcoming meeting is from last week, the Tucson meeting, Phoenix Real Estate Club, which I also kind of I like. AZREIA has really expanded with our subgroups. There's a variety of subgroups on here. If you've been a part of AZREIA for a while or you're a returning AZREIA member, you'll notice we've probably doubled the number of subgroups, even more, that they've had. And the reason why is because there are a lot of ways to make money in real estate. And these groups, each of these groups addresses, we'll say, a different aspect of that. Even if you're only interested in multifamily, or you're just interested in notes, or you're just interested in wholesaling or fixing, whatever, it doesn't matter. Well, most of these groups will be one adjacent from you, okay? So if you're a wholesaler, who are you selling property to? Fix and flips, right? If you're a fix and flip, who are you selling property to? Buy and hold, okay? Point being, everybody is related to everybody else. You will find good contacts in each of these groups, if that's something that interests you. Also, as a part of AZREIA, they have forums, and so you can actually join these forums. I haven't been to the forums in a little bit, so I'm just being very clear about this. However, I do know that some people are selling properties on the forum, some people have bought properties from the forum, so people are actually completing deals there. So it's also an avenue for you to maybe find somebody that you need to work with. I bet contractors are on there too. The AZREIA membership is currently $125, and that's for a year. I suggest that if you're going to do, and Mike suggests the same thing, if you're going to do about 8 subgroups in a year, I would suggest you go with this because the subgroup price drops from I think 20 to 15. So it ends up being a wash. If you want the opportunity to just go to every meeting you want without even, without doing anything, then you could elevate to the Plus membership. I won't lie to you, it's a little bit more money, but it is nice to just kind of walk into meetings and be like, hi, I'm here. And then just not say anything. There's just a little bit of that. The beginner's bundle, this is something that is available discounted for members. And what this does is if you're still trying to figure out where you're going, who here still doesn't really know what they want to do when it comes to real estate? Is there anybody here? Okay, a couple people. That's perfectly fine. I get that all the time. Stop it. And so, because I'm not going to lie to you, I might not be dressed like it, but I make multifamily look super sexy. Okay, and so the point is that you might be here because you think that this is the way you want to go, when in reality, you're still not really sure. If you're really not sure, but you know real estate is where you want to be, this actually can be a jump start. Yes, sir. Yeah, of course.
Been doing it for a while, but I change focus. So to me, that's good for looking at other aspects to go to, not just one thing. So you think I was kidding, but I'm serious because I'm learning other things, directions to go to. You get focused on one thing, so that's why.
Yeah, and even along those lines, I'll tell you this. I started with single family. I went to multifamily. Then I went to syndications and limited partners, et cetera. And then I did notes for a little bit. Oh, well, you know what? There's another slide that we'll talk about that real quick. I'll tell you who I am.
Stealing your thunder.
I know, I'm stealing my own thunder. How much sense does that make? Okay. So what we're going to do today is we're going to do we're going to do Ask Me Anything. I think it's actually, we have a really good group for that. I'm pretty excited about it. Then we'll do networking and team building because, as most of you know, I won't say everybody, of course, multifamily takes a team, okay? Can you do it all by yourself? Absolutely. Do I tell people they can do it by themselves? I do. Is it going to take you a little bit longer? Yeah, a little bit. You can pay to go to college, or you can go on YouTube U. Guess what? In the end, you're going to get the same education, almost undoubtedly. One's going to take you a little bit longer than another. That's all there is to it. So team building here, it's great. It's an opportunity to learn from other people. And then who can we help? Open discussion about whatever you guys want to talk about. Why are we here? Educate current and future syndicators and investors, okay, because I am a syndicator and an investor, in the areas of multifamily real estate. We provide a space, safe space, if you will, which I hate that phrase, to discuss obstacles, brainstorm ideas, and groupthink solutions. I do not have all the answers. I have answers to a lot of questions, but there are different ways to do different things, and I learn a lot of stuff, and from especially a couple of the guys in this room that have been here a couple of times. I want to foster a community. That's our goal, so people can can network, find partners, and be successful in multifamily. So who am I that I'm standing here? So I'm here, a little bit of background about me. I went to Purdue University, as you can tell by my hat, or by the back, more likely. I have an aerospace engineering and bachelor's and master's degrees in aerospace engineering. I still do aerospace engineering. I have a W-2 job, so everything I tell you that I'm doing, put in context the fact that I still have a job. So if you still have a job and you're wondering if you can do this, yeah. Is it going to take you longer than it would take a fellow that's doing it full time, like Ken and Todd? Yeah, it's going to take you longer. Is it doable? Sure, of course. Right? Everything's doable. I bought my first rental property, which is a condo, in 2011. And since then, I actually did some land flipping, bought some notes. I've done door knocking, which is horrible. I equate door knocking to laying tile. I'm grateful for the experience. I'm not doing that anymore. Okay, and then even now I own some midterm rentals, right? 31 days or more via pad split. If you're familiar with that, it is a multifamily model in a single family product. Again, as we were talking about, it's all about different income streams, multiple streams of income, okay? I bought my first multifamily, a 10-unit in 2021, which I self-managed for 2 years. I'm partnered in a variety of assets, Atlanta, Arizona, and then one in Houston. I focus in Phoenix on asset acquisitions in the greater Phoenix area. I'm looking sometimes up in Prescott and sometimes up in the other P1, Payson. And then I also share opportunities with potential investors. So what that means is I do capital raising. It's basically just a nice way of saying it. I capital raise for some deals. I'm capital raising right now for a fund. I have a high probability that I'll be capital raising for a deal in Oklahoma City. A fun fact is that I played Ultimate Frisbee for 30 years. Does anybody know what Ultimate Frisbee is? It's like Frisbee football. It's not Frisbee golf. I did that for about 30 years, competing at the national and international levels.
What do you do in Payson?
What do I do in Payson?
Yeah.
I'm just looking for things out in Payson. So I'm just kind of evaluating that market still and heading out there. Some deals come up in Payson, but I really need to just, I'm much more hands-on. So I need to get up there and just kind of see. We'll see.
What are you investing in Prescott?
Oh, I'm not investing in Prescott. So I'm saying that I'm looking for assets in the greater Phoenix area, up to Prescott and up towards Payson. I think I don't really want to go down to Tucson because there's a lot of people heading down to Tucson. I think there's opportunity in Prescott Valley. So it would be more, I'm looking more for sort of workforce housing, blue collar. So basically, I'm looking for not A-class units, but I'm looking more for something a little bit older, where all the people that are working, to provide housing. I like to provide housing for people without first kicking out other people. So I'm looking for places where we can do a value add, but workforce housing, kind of keep things somewhat affordable. That's my buy box, if
I
you
have a
will.
triplex coming up this week that I might want to communicate with you about. Would that meet your buy box?
It's a little bit small because it's so far away for me to be out that way. But I'm happy just to talk to you about Prescott. And yeah, awesome. Because I don't have a lot of people out that way. So open forum, this is Ask Me Anything. So there are a couple people in this room that are pretty active, right? That have been doing a lot of different things. So this is not just going to be like, oh, I have a question for you, and I'm going to stand up here and answer it. The way this typically goes is somebody's going to ask a question, and I'm going to open it up to the room. Tell me what you think. Right? Let's get some ideas going, and from those questions, other questions will come up. If you don't have any questions, then I'm just going to start pointing at people. No, I'm not going to do that. What I'll do is I have some topics actually that I'd like to bring up that are making their way in the news. And so don't worry about it. There's going to be plenty to talk about. So, hi, what's your name?
I'm Jeannie.
Jeannie, stand up for me, would you please?
Sure.
Okay.
I have 6 properties in 4 states, and I'm right now trying to figure out, do I keep them? Do I sell them? Do I consolidate and go into multifamily? So that's kind of, so what would be, it sounds like you've done it all, so what would be your pros and cons to one versus the other?
Okay, so Jeannie says she has 6 properties in 4 different states, and you're trying to determine if you should basically sell everything and then move into multifamily. So really, we can't answer that question right now,
Okay, hold on.
right?
You have four single family, right?
I have a duplex, I have 1 duplex, I have 1 triplex, and the rest are single family.
Okay.
So 6 total, so it sounds like you've got 9 units. Is that correct? Did I do that math right?
I think it's 7 units, I have to,
Okay.
there's also a piece of land in there.
What states by chance?
Ohio, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Arizona.
Ohio, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Arizona. Which part of Ohio?
Northeast outside of
Never mind.
Youngstown,
Uh-huh.
the ones in.
So near,
We'll talk later.
yeah, okay,
Good, yeah, I would love to talk about that.
right.
What are your goals?
That's the question that we need to ask. What are your
What are you
goals?
trying to accomplish?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll give a brief history. My husband just passed away in October, thank you. So I am trying to, and he took care of most of it, I took care of some of it. So I'm trying to figure all that out, and So, it's gonna take me a little while to figure it all out. But I am a teacher, and I've taken a leave of absence for the rest of the school year, so I can try and figure this stuff out. But my goal is to teach because I wanna teach, but have my real estate be my primary income.
Okay, so your goal is basically, so it's funny, we talk about this thing called financial independence, and most people think financial independence equals quitting my job. Financial independence doesn't equal quitting your job. Financial independence means having the option to work. It's a subtle difference, and I'm glad that you actually specified that. So, what's the other question that we should be asking Jeannie?
Are they managed by a property manager?
They are all, the ones that are rented are managed by property managers. The one in Phoenix is actually a short-term rental, has been for the last 3 years. This year tanked. So I need to figure out what I'm gonna do with that one fairly quickly. And then the land, I need to figure out what to do with that. The one in Ohio is not rented. That's a long story. I'll talk to you about that. But the others are all rented and with a property manager. I won't do anything without a property manager.
And the goal is to quit teaching? Is that
No,
No?
no. I just have taken a leave of absence while I figure all of this out.
So would you rather say you liquidate and then you come into one of our deals and just we run the deal and you work and you learn that way, or?
That's a possibility, yes.
Okay,
That is a possibility,
okay.
Right.
yes.
So the question that Todd's asking is, the next best question is, what do you want your level of involvement to be? Because
Minimal.
minimal. So, and the reason why I bring this up is because what we're talking about is the difference between being a passive investor, right? You want to just buy Apple shares, in a sense, passive investing like stock market,
I want a
or
consistent income.
and you want a consistent income, but do you want to be talking to property managers all the time? Do you want to be dealing with that? Do you want phone calls because in making decisions about yada, yada, yada?
I
So,
don't mind talking to the property managers
Okay.
to make decisions because I want to know what's going on with my properties,
Mhm.
but I don't want calls in the middle of the night. I've been there and done that, don't want to do that.
Right.
I want to be hands-off, but I also need to know what's going on.
okay, right.
So
If
you
that
could,
makes
you could
sense.
be a debt or an equity investor, or you could be a mix of the two. So you
Right.
can,
Yep.
we can get into the weeds with that if you want, or.
I have a friend who he does all single family, and he's told me, he said, you have a lot of equity that is sitting here doing nothing for you, so.
So that was that's part one of the last question. What's the second part of the question that we haven't asked yet?
Yeah, you gotta think about the tax burden on it too.
Tax burden? Wait,
I was gonna cover that, I was gonna wait for that, but as a 1031 exchange, you're not necessarily looking at the tax burden. I was gonna talk about that after.
potentially, but the
But
other
there's
question that we haven't asked is, your goal is to not have to work unless by choice, right? What's the cash flow like today?
What do you need?
Are you actually, and exactly, how close are you to that goal? If everything's cash flowing today, you say, look, my expenses are $5,000 a month, it's cash flowing $5,000 a month, then you're exactly where you need to be.
It's cash flowing to cover the expenses for the properties. It's not cash flowing enough to give me any extra.
So you're not getting a lot of cash
No.
every month from this. So that's right there off the bat. It definitely negates certain options for you and pushes you in a particular way, which is, I need something that's going to cash flow. You've got X amount of dollars in equity. You don't have to really tell us, right? Todd wants to know, but the rest of us, the point is that, okay? And so the thing is you might be able to capture that equity
Right.
in some way, kick that tax burden down the road, because remember, we don't really avoid taxes per much as we just kind of dodge them for a little bit of time. And then you can get into something different. So what do you guys think she should do? I think we've got enough, you have another question? Go for it.
What, the average interest rate on the properties, what do you have it? Is it like pandemic era debt, or is it more recent?
No, one of them, the interest rates are low, they're all free, and half of them, at least half of them, are free and clear. There's no debt on them.
Okay, so you've got a couple free and clear,
The reason I
yeah.
asked that question is
Mhm.
because if you're already slim on the margin of it, and you're at free and clear, or, on a low interest rate, like, yeah, it just makes sense to divest from those into whatever else it might be. less headache, more cash flow.
Yeah.
I have another question, without getting too much personal,
They're not.
so say without getting too much personal
Yeah.
information, and I don't know how much you're dealing with your tax person, but I keep getting the impression, there may be some things you may not be looking at, and I don't need to know them, but your depreciation, a lot of other things you're looking at, so if you're not doing that, are there other ways? Talk to somebody tax-wise to see if there's ways that you can actually
Yeah.
get some of the tax breaks or deductions and write-offs that can actually boost that, because you could be making nothing but not doing the tax write-offs and deductions, and you could actually be cash flowing more than what you think, so I'm not
Yes.
hearing that, and just something just to think about.
Yeah, that is on my list of things
Yeah.
to do.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think there's a big list of things for you to do.
Exactly.
I will just tell you that from talking to you, I hear a couple inconsistencies. Rarely do I hear somebody say COVID era tax rates, which we're talking sub 4%, maybe 3%-ish range, paid off and not really cash flowing. Okay, those are inconsistencies. If I have any property that's paid off, if it's not cash flowing several $100 to $2,000 a month, that's a problem.
Well, I think when I say that, it's because this year, the property that I have here in Arizona that has what I consider to be a hefty mortgage on it is not paying it, it's not carrying its weight, and so the other properties are having to
Okay.
compensate for that.
So this is where you might actually think, let me just unload the albatross, right? Keep these things that are paid off and not sell the whole thing at once. And, and honestly, I mean, who here's bought portfolios, right? Portfolios, Ken probably, have you bought portfolios before? Yeah, portfolios of property. Somebody may come in and be like, look, I'll just take all these off your hands for X amount of dollars or whatever, and they can roll that in. They may even do, are you familiar with, what's the thing that, what is the key word that we think about when you hear somebody is interested? Seller carry, seller financing. Seller financing is guaranteed income for you to some degree, of course. Nothing's guaranteed. Nothing I tell you is guaranteed. I'm lying, just assume I'm lying. So the thing is seller financing, be a bank,
Yeah,
right? Interest rates are what? Are they still at 5.5%, 6.5% almost? 8.5%? You need a new lender. Okay, so the point is that let's suppose we're at 8%. Somebody might be super interested in buying your property at 6%, right? Maybe for 5 years, maybe for a balloon after 3, and they're going to get a deal. You are done dealing with calls, you're done dealing with tenants, you're done dealing with everything, and they're going to come in and give you 6% of that equity,
yeah,
right? And you're going to get a check every month.
yeah.
I definitely like that better than having rental properties, because you've got a single point of failure and they're out of state, and it's a
Yeah.
small portfolio, so that could be a real headache.
Yeah.
I like a seller carry
And
is
I
much
had
better.
forgotten about that, so that's really
Yeah.
helpful.
But my number one suggestion for you is get your equity and let us double or triple it, and then switch to a debt investor, and then you can have your cash flow.
Okay.
Yeah. Does everybody understand everything, what he's talking about? Who doesn't understand? This is why we're here. We're open forum. Does anyone not understand what Todd just
Can you
said?
explain to me a little bit more?
Yeah.
Sir, if she comes in on the equity side with us, to back up a little, we have about 10,000 doors right now, and we got 4,000 in the pipeline. And so with us, with our niche, we take over distress, so the banks call us, longtime brokers call us, we take over distressed properties, so something that, like we've got one in Dallas, in the Dallas MSA. MSA means Metropolitan Statistical Area, so you guys would want to know that. Because that's how the government breaks down these bubbles of population, and brokers will talk to you that way. Sorry, am I too slow?
I know, keep going.
Okay, and so people could come in on the equity side where we'll have something that, we'll get for like 20 a door in a market where they're trading for 60 a door. And we already have a construction vertical and a property management vertical, and so we know exactly what we're gonna turn it around for. And so if somebody comes in on the ride or die equity side with us, that's where you can double, triple, quadruple your investment. And then she could roll out into the debt side, which is more like a seller carry, or you just come in and provide money and you get your payments. Just like a mortgage out there, just on bigger numbers, right? So if she comes in with a couple million into our deal, she'll know her payment that she's getting is this, and that'll just keep coming, right? And then her debt is, the money's not out in a property on the equity side. That's riskier, but it's, to us it's not because we come in so low on stuff.
Right.
She would be coming in first position or second position
On, what are you talking
on
about?
the debt side? If she-
On the debt, she'd be part of the capital staff, so she would not be in first position, but that's how these bigger things go. It's a capital staff.
Right, so
Right.
she'd be getting preferred, like
She'd be yeah, but she would be treated, if she's on the debt side,
yeah,
then she's gonna get her payment just like one of our mortgages and one of our, that's how she's set up. That's just part, all these deals have a capital stack.
right.
So you have,
That's why I'm asking what position would that debt be? So
Yeah,
she's
'cause
the
it's-
second or
it's
third
not that
position?
simple on these kind of deals, so.
Yeah.
It's,
That would matter with the.
You're right, it does matter. Yeah, and I think what he's saying is so everybody, what he's talking about, very simply to put it, to put it simply, is that you're gonna have different lien holders, different lien positions. If you're coming in as an investor, you're in a place, right? Things go south, God forbid, things go south, but guess what? It's happening, read the news. Things go south, who gets paid first? Okay, Todd's talking about coming in a little bit early, kind of getting that loan potentially, or maybe some kind of a seller carry up front, bringing in more capital, do a build, right? And what's happening is instead of doing, you're basically doing new build in some cases, right? Some cases you're going to do a value add. Long story short is that what he's saying is that you can come in a little bit early into the product or the project, and you can capture a lot of that stuff up front. There's a lot of gain to be every step of the way with any sort of real estate has somebody's taking a cut. So if you can get in really early, you can get a cut of pretty much all the stages when it comes to purchasing or purchasing the land, permitting, building, all these sorts of things. And by doing that, you can actually amass a little bit more money, but of course there's always some risk involved. I encourage you to get educated a little bit before you jump in on something like that, because there's a lot to learn. Even I'm learning new builds. But the point is that he's saying once you can build up your stack enough, the idea is then you can go in and invest in something, and you can just be the debt person. You're getting your 3, 4, 5% guaranteed by some property. You could be first lien position if you want, and then now you're sitting back and doing nothing, absolutely nothing, to some degree, right? That's kind of the idea. Could be the dream for a lot of different people, but right now where you're at, you've got a couple pieces of property, you seller financing, put them on 30-year loans, flexible rates. I mean, who knows how that's going to play out, and you might be exactly where you want to be. That's why we ask these questions up front. What is your goal? How much are you making today? How much you need to make tomorrow? Okay? Sounds like you talk to pretty much a variety of people in this room when we get to the networking aspect of it. Okay. I'm not going to do this yet. I'll do it later. Who's got another question? Okay, fine. Then I'm going to ask a question, right? I can't have dead time. It's only 6:40. So, since we're talking about this idea of new builds, who's interested in new builds? And I'm asking you guys this because AZREIA going to start doing a survey, and they're asking who's interested in the concept of new build. So we talk about, okay, excellent. So we talk about this idea of multifamily, but how do we make money in multifamily? Well, it can be just like a single family home. I buy at the right price. I get my everything rented out. Maybe I clean it up a little bit. I cut the hedges, rent it all out. I manage it properly, reduce my expenses. I make some money. Okay, that's probably one of the harder ways to make money with multifamily, but it actually works. As we get a little bit further, what we can do are things called value add. What do we want to do? We want to clean it up, paint the whole thing, add a playground, get residents interested in moving in, add washer dryers, upgrade kitchens, charge a little bit of a premium for rent, add other services, covered parking, believe it or not, what is it called?
Valet trash.
Valet trash, where you set your trash out on a Tuesday and the guy comes by and picks up all the garbage. You can pay for that. You can pay electronic upgrades, keyless locks, all this sort of stuff. That's a value add. Okay? And then you have new builds or add-ons where You find this beautiful 10-acre lot, they're only using half of it, we're gonna buy it, and we're gonna start building this other unit over here. Because when you start to permit things, increases the value of the land. When you put the foundation down, when you get the plans, increases the value, right? Whenever it's build ready, increases the value. When you start to build, increases the value. All along the step of the way, you can take that. That would be the most extreme. But who's interested in a concept like that, this idea of new build? Oh yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I also have an example of that.
Yeah, sure.
I have a 74-unit off-market property right now. It also has land next to it that's also for sale and a kind of a bundle deal that's permitted for another 30 units. So
Right.
that's another opportunity that's similar.
Awesome. It's off market, so are you buying it or selling it?
So I'm selling it.
You're selling it. Where is it?
It's in Phoenix. I can't disclose the cross streets. I have to have an NDA first, but you know, it's cash flowing. It's a great property. In fact, there's no asking price. It's unpriced. We're just submitting details and making offers.
And seeing what people are doing, right?
Yep, see what the market's for.
Do you guys understand why stuff is unpriced? Tell me. Tell me why.
Finding financing probably is gonna be.
Because what they're saying is, if you know you're asked from a hole in the ground, you tell us what the price should be. That's why they do it.
Yeah.
And that's one reason, and another reason is, well, go ahead, you go ahead.
Also, when you list a price, you're saying, don't give me more than this. This is the amount that I'm willing to take, and you're gonna
Right.
have to offer more.
Right.
If you leave it unpriced, you know, you let people come up with the value on their own, they may actually have a substantially higher value for that property than you do. So it's always good to kind of leave it up to them.
Yeah, negotiation 101, he who names the price first loses.
I think that's one of the problems in the market right now, just price discovery where the buyers they're asking for one thing and the sellers are saying, no, it's still in 2021.
In some
The
markets,
price,
the
so-
discrepancy is up to 20%.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's just,
So sellers are always last to the party. They're the last ones to give up on
Oh, yeah.
the value.
Right. Well, I mean, who here has a piece of property that is worth more than they think it is? No, you don't. Okay? Right? So that's the point, right? I mean, let's just put it on the market and see what the market will bear. And that actually number will change based on interest rates. Give it another month and underwriting for her property in particular may actually change significantly. So it just depends. Fannie Mae just came out, again, they're pushing multifamily. They're pushing loans on multifamily, agency debt, they're dropping rates, right? I think they're under 5.5%, I think last I looked, but for certain types of multifamily, they're trying to push people into this and get people to come in and do value add. Come in, have some capital, clean the place up, get people in it, right? Give people a nice place to live, okay?
That's the best thing about commercial real estate, is you can improve how the property operates and improve the value.
Right.
So we come into something that's occupancy is 35%, and we get it up to like 95%, and fix up the property, we double the value of the property easily.
Yeah, easily. Okay. Anyone have any other questions? So anyway, real quick, who's interested in this concept of new builds? Okay, a couple people, some people not really, some people like raising hands. Okay, who here does not own any property whatsoever except their primary residence? Okay, a couple people. No, that's perfectly fine. I'm just trying to gauge where people are at. I think we know who owns something, right? But, well, Alex hasn't said anything yet, but Alex is waiting to just jump in and just start talking. I know, I can tell. Okay, who's got another question, right? Where are you at? Think about where you're at in your journey. What would you like to know about multifamily? Why did you even come here? Okay, what we want to talk about is why are you here? What are you hoping to learn? What's stopping you from moving forward? So I would ask people that don't have property, why haven't you bought anything? Why haven't you bought a threeplex or a fourplex?
Capital.
You have them?
Capital.
Capital. Okay, so you're looking for capital.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what's your question?
Well, it just, I want to network so I can get people to know, like, and trust me, so we can sit down and talk money. Because
Okay.
if you don't know Hollis, I ain't getting any money.
Okay,
Okay, that's the start. Then it's a working conversation, working knowledge, talk, maybe, down the line, we can work it out where I can get some funding and go out and buy a fiveplex and fourplex. I want to get something in Tempe. I live in Tempe,
for sure.
but it's hard. Tempe and triplex is doing stuff like that. It's unbelievable. But,
right? So your name's Hollis?
yes, sir.
Okay, so what's the first question for Hollis? Hollis says, I'm having trouble raising capital. What are the questions that that we need to ask Hollis that that he might not know the answers to? How can we help move him forward by asking him the right question? What question? Somebody comes up to you and says, hey, I'm looking to raise capital.
What's his time frame?
What's your experience level?
What's your experience? What's your time frame? What else?
Knowledge.
Okay.
It's gonna be very hard to raise capital.
And that's why I'm in here. I know that.
But even a little bit further, right? What's the asset?
Yeah, I was gonna say, price and then.
What's your business plan? And when I say business plan, I'm not talking about you're writing this big business plan, you're submitting it to a bank, and you're hoping a bunch of people sit around a conference table and read up about it. I'm talking about what's your business plan. In other words, what's your buy box, right? We talk about buy box. What's your price point, right? Where are you going to get your 20%? Maybe from capital, right? But what are the interest rates? What do your numbers look like? What's your proposed income, right? What are your proposed expenses? Are you going to self-manage? How are you going to keep your expenses down? Okay? How are you going to increase income, if at all? These are the questions. So the first question I would ask you, not is I wouldn't give you advice as in how you can start raising capital. The advice I would give you is what's your deal look like? Right? People need to know, like, and trust you. Everyone says that, okay? But they also need to know where you're going. What's your vision? What does that look like? If you ask me for money, I'm going to be like, well, what are we buying? What are you buying? So I would start with that. And
I'm
that's
also going
right.
to Raise Fest. It'll be here in what, February?
February?
Where?
Raise Fest.
Hunter Thompson, he's got a whole, coaching event.
He's got a thing.
The whole network of people that want to raise capital.
Yeah.
It's going to be in Phoenix this year.
It will. Yeah, it's going to be Feb.
I do. That's what I do
That
want
might
to.
make it a lot easier.
Yeah, I do want to. Yeah.
Okay, have
Oh.
you consulted a lender?
No, I'm just trying to get what I can so I can get the right verbiage together, so I can get the right language together, so I can sit there and present
Perfect.
to them. But I do want to live in one. Yeah.
One of the great things about that, I focus on multifamily. I'm a broker of a multifamily firm. I'm not a lender, but what I do know is that when you're dealing with 4 units under and you already have tenants in place or you have projected rents that you can prove, right? That actually adds towards your income and allows you to, better qualify for that property.
Yeah.
And you can still do the 5% down and not have to come up with the whole 20%. So that might be helpful for you.
Yeah. So that's great. And actually, that's a great. I forgot to ask him that. Are you going to live in one?
And I do want to live in. Yeah, that's
Right.
right. I do want to live
And
in.
it does
Is it-
changes the dynamic completely.
4 and under, you get residential financing, so that's what
Yeah.
makes it easier an easier hill to climb.
They were just real quick. Wanted to add. What's your name?
My name is Summer.
Summer. Nice to
Yeah,
meet you,
I'm
Summer.
City Point.
I'm
with City Point.
I don't know
City
what
Point
that
Real
is.
Estate.
I'm not good at names. I'll barely remember Summer. If you
Okay,
just,
I'm Summer.
okay, let's just stop there and we'll go on next time. I thought I heard something about how FHA loans, where they were doing the 3.5%. They didn't want to count the income from the other assets until it was something like they were changing the rules. I thought on counting that as income directly. I thought does that sound familiar to you?
So I actually was just consulting a lender that only deals with income properties like this. And
Right.
they said that the policies haven't changed much other than, I think where they're leaning more toward the 5% down. And in fact, I have
I
them
see.
coming to our office tomorrow to do a presentation on loans just like the one you're looking for. And if you'd like to come to my office at 1 p.m. and sit in on that meeting, he might be able to help you out.
Okay. So they're changing FHA's are going to 5% down as opposed to the 3.5% it used to
I
be?
believe so when it comes to multifamily income.
When it comes, okay.
Recently, they started counting that income,
They started counting the income?
right.
Because I thought somebody was telling me they were cutting back on counting the full income towards income, and
Well,
I
maybe they
I
started
forgot.
Cutting back. I really don't pay attention to the residential stuff, but I
Right.
heard that they never used to count that before, and now they're counting it. That's what
Okay.
I heard.
Okay, well, anyway, something to remember.
With being a
Law-
vet,
Laws
you know,
change.
I can still get a VA. Right?
Oh, it's
VA
huge.
is a great loan.
Yeah.
Huge. There you go.
You're a vet, you're an ex-vet?
No.
Oh, I thought you're a ex-police officer.
I was gonna ask you, not personally, I don't need to know, but I'm just getting the impression, have you looked at why you want a triplex? Why are you doing what you're doing? And I think if you're gonna raise money, one of the big things is not only talking about what your asset looks like, what your buy box looks like, but more importantly, why. Especially if you're a novice at it. Have you rented property out, been a landlord in the past?
No,
If you haven't, then I think a lot of people are gonna say, why are you doing this? Because there's gonna be some headaches and I just talked the ups and downs.
Yeah.
And, I've done it a long time ago and I still have ups and downs. So you really wanna look at your why.
Yeah, agreed. But, you know, your why could just be as simple as, I want to lock in my retirement, right? It literally could be just as simple as that.
I think what he's
Right.
saying is watch what you wish for because you might get it.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, once you gotta wish, you gotta do it, you know, otherwise you sell out 10 years and saying, damn, I should've done it 10 years ago.
Best,
So you do
right?
it, you get into it, you learn, and I'll sit there, have a separation where the person, if I'm living in one of them, the rest of the people I don't know I own it. My son's gonna start sitting there doing that, he'll be sitting there and say, oh, I gotta talk to the owner. So they won't know that I own the property.
Sure.
And stuff like that, so let's go. So again, I learn a lot, I read a lot, stuff like that, but now it's time to make the move and just do it and go from there and keep on going, keep on learning.
Awesome. Keep coming to these meetings and we'll talk about that in brutal detail at times. Okay, so that's awesome. So House was actually able to say, look, this is my hurdle. This is where I'm at right now, okay? And it turned out the question that he really had, he didn't even know. Okay? So who's got another question? Who's got an obstacle or a hurdle?
So, I don't have an obstacle or hurdle, now that you went to your second part of the question.
Okay, well, don't pimp your business.
I'm not, I just wanted to ask you, so, kind of pivoting off of the money raising
Sure.
portion. So you mentioned you're a syndicator, like what's your pitch and structure typically when you go out and raise money?
So typically, I'm raising, so I have talked to some people that are, I will say I'm a novice raiser. Typically, I'm talking to friends and family. I'm talking to them, they already know what I'm doing because I'm working on increasing my social media presence. What I'm gonna talk about, it's funny, and it depends on who. So yeah, before I answer this question, let's open it up to capital raisers. And real quick, just to kind of circle the loop back and complete and close that loop on what Todd was saying. Hunter Thompson, Raise Fest, it's in Phoenix. I think it's at the I don't know where it is. Is it the Sheraton maybe? It doesn't matter.
It's not expensive.
Long story short is Raise Fest, Hunter Thompson, this guy has made a name for himself on capital raising. And now he's getting into the buy and hold, the value add multifamily market. And he's starting in Phoenix, and he's made that very clear to people. Long story short is, I'll be there. I don't know if anyone else is gonna be there. Todd's gonna be there.
I think it's
I thought it was January something or
February
other.
22nd to the 24th.
there you go. somebody-
Well, I don't believe everything I hear. But it could be February 22nd.
Yeah, I figured.
Oh, it is, because I'm supposed, yeah.
I bought my tickets a while ago, I don't know.
Yeah,
Whatever you say.
okay, yeah, it is because, anyway, it doesn't matter. So let's open up the floor for anybody that's tried to raise capital, right, or has been successful at raising capital. What's your pitch look like? And just give me the quick thing. I don't need a 25 minutes. Let's sit down and talk about something. But I just want to talk about, again, ideas, because I'll be honest with you right now, on a scale of 1 to 10, quality of capital raisers, I'm probably like a 4. And I'm learning. I'm doing everything I can to learn as quickly as possible. Because you need money. Who's been raised capital?
So, like Jose said, an ex-police officer retired recently, so one of the things I did is go to folks at my job and that retired, and their money's just sitting there. I had some deals, and I was looking out in Ohio and look at example deals and send them, hey, this is what I'm looking at, here are my numbers. So I just kind of did some, I don't know what you call it, but not presumptions, but real deals, and actually took some deals that other people had bought, and so this is what they bought it for, this is what they sold it for, this is how much they made, and then put that in a PDF kind of thing and email it out to some friends, and
Right.
got 4 folks that want to come on board.
So, excellent point. Start with other people's deals. You don't need a deal. House, you don't need a deal to start talking about raising capital. But you do need to understand how it's underwritten. You do need to understand the numbers, right? Understand the business plan. And why it works, why it doesn't work. Because so the first question someone's going to ask you is like, well, what happens if this doesn't work? You know, you need to understand things. Go ahead.
Part of that, what you just said, I did lose a friend somewhat, because he was trying to ask way too many questions, and why is this person doing this? So just understand that you're gonna need the answers, but it's some things that, it might be an example, and with my friend, why would somebody sell this, why would do this? You're gonna get all that, so just be careful.
You lost a friend over talking to him about him asking too many questions?
You were counseling.
Was he an engineer like Jose?
No. He's a police officer.
Oh, was he?
How'd you set up the structure for the people that came to invest it? It was just like.
Because you're talking about single-family deals,
Set
right?
up a new company,
No.
where like,
Oh.
we're gonna invest in this as.
I have companies
1, 2,
already
3
set up.
LLC, or?
I have an LLC, I have a couple LLCs, but basically all that stuff's been set up. In fact, 25 years ago, I did a whole structure kind of thing and named the company and all that kind of stuff, never used it. But here's an example of what you did. Would you like to, invest with me? We were friends, so it's a
So
little
you
bit
didn't, so
easier.
you didn't make them like partners in a new venture, you basically just took their I think that's part of the question I'm asking, is like, how do you structure something like that?
I think it depends on how well do you know the person.
Yeah, they're like, your
Right.
If these are
so
friends
they
that I've
didn't
known for
care.
10, 20 years,
Yeah.
if Hollis is looking at somebody brand new,
Yeah.
that's gonna be a little bit more structured.
Yeah, so you're obviously going to start with friends and family, but the question really is how do you structure the deal? And the answer is based on the size of the deal. I'm not going to syndicate $800,000 fourplex and pay all the lawyer fees and bring all these people in and do this giant thing. It's not going to happen because I only need, on an $800,000 buy, I only need $250,000, we'll say. I don't need to syndicate that. I might need to syndicate that, but I wouldn't. The cost is, the overhead to build a structure like that is too expensive. You're gonna do things like JVs, joint ventures, you're gonna do a partnership, you're just gonna get an LLC. 5 of us are just gonna all join in and sign an LLC together, and we're gonna break up the structure, and that's what it looks like. That would be one answer. You get into 10 units, maybe 20 units, the numbers start to make a little bit more sense. Todd, you have something input you wanted to say? How do you start talking to people that you want to raise capital? If you meet an investor here in this room, Hollis is sitting like, or no, Jeannie's sitting on what, $12 million, I think, in equity, give or take. I'm not sure, right? And she's thinking, what do I do? I don't keep working as a teacher the rest of my life.
So what people buy into is the story. So what is the story of you? What is the story of the property? That's what people buy into. And if they pick up on your vibe and your confidence and your, so you can certainly, you'll start out as you get more experience, as you come to more of these, your confidence goes up and other things, so that's part of it too. And your track record is a huge part of it. So, but basically they're buying into the story, and each project is its own thing. So there's each thing that we have is its own story, right? So all the way down to a smaller, like 100 unit, and all the way up to this 1,300 unit that we're buying, they all have their own story and then the people buy into us and the management team and all that. So they have to buy into all of those different stories.
Exactly. So buy into the story. I've been doing this meetup for about 15 months or so. How long do you think it took me to put this slide together?
15 months, you're still doing it.
8, 9, 10, I'm still working on things. 8, 9, 10 months, almost. Why? Because I'm only talking about myself. Because I grew up in an era where to be a good conversationalist, you always turn it around to the other person, right? Oh, how's your day? Oh, how did that go for you? I don't talk about myself. It took me months to put this slide together. And I'll be quite honest with you, when I tell you that, it's still embarrassing for me to talk about because I don't feel comfortable talking about myself. But Todd is 100% correct. People buy into the story. Look at social media and what people are doing. Okay, they can talk about deals all day, talk about numbers all the time, but guess what? Who cares? When you watch a movie, do you really care about certain things? You care about the people. You care about their interaction with each other, how they go about doing things and how they go about their lives. That's the thing that you care about. The context is irrelevant. Do I really care? Okay, I'm not gonna lie to you. My guilty pleasure is these Hallmark Christmas movies. I can sit there and watch these things 24/7. Do I really care if they're in Vermont or Montana or Denver? Do I really care if it's a maple tree farm or if it's a ranch or somebody's lost their Christmas shop? It's a bakery down on Main Street because the big box bakery moved in next door. Do I really care about that context? No, I just care about the people. I care about their story. I care about their relationship to the building, their relationship to each other. That's the buy-in. The deal you'll learn, you need to talk the numbers, but the deal is a lot less important to the investor than you think it is.
Right.
Okay, excellent. Great point, Todd. Any other thoughts on, what was your name again?
Kyle.
Tyler?
Kyle, with a K.
Kyle?
Kyler?
Come on.
I told Winter I was bad with names. So, okay, Kyle.
That's winner.
Winner. Okay, thanks, Kyle. Anyone else have any thoughts for Kyle? How do you talk to investors?
Last part, I'm sorry to keep going up, but for Kyle, you're asking about structure. Some of the people getting to know, it might be $5,000 just to get started so they get comfortable because they've never invested before. So just covering some aspect of like the furniture or something like that instead of the actual deal. And those people will do more next year. So if it works out great, like you said, a track record and do they know you and do they trust you, then that may be bigger next year.
Yes.
So not everybody needs to come in as a syndication of $50,000, $100,000.
Right.
When you're talking-
Or
when you're
five,
talking-
6 million, like some people over here.
Well, maybe.
Yeah, you can do big deals without a syndication. We haven't syndicated.
You can't,
We won't syndicate the 1,300 unit deal either.
yeah. Depends on who you,
Just existing partners then? Is that
We
just?
have partners, but then, like, if you're dealing with big money people, they don't want a bunch of other people in the deal. So, then you'll usually JV with those people, right? So you can do big old deals without a syndication.
oh yeah, well, sure, of course. I mean, you give enough money, right? You can do anything with anything. But yeah, you don't have to syndicate. This is not a requirement. We talk about syndication. We talk about the legal aspects of it. We talk about how to do it, what it means, what it looks like, so that you can talk intelligently to potential investors or intelligently to other people that you just meet, by chance. But it is by far a requirement.
Not a requirement.
It's one of those two. Thank you. It was either a requirement or it's not a requirement. You know what? I'll let you guys decide.
But you need to know about it if you're raising capital. You need to know about what investors they're talking about. They start saying
Yeah.
GPLP to you, or they know about, you need to know the different types of ways that they've gotten into deals.
Yeah, the verbiage, right? Verbiage, lingo, whichever. Who else has a question? Yes, ma'am. What's your name?
Melissa.
Melissa. Awesome.
So how would you, not in the syndication side, but more private money, right? So I have a potential person that's interested in private money, but how do I structure something that's beneficial for both?
Okay.
Or how do you start learning how to structure certain deals? Because I guess it depends on the amount, right, and what you're looking at.
It does. So the question Melissa's asking, if I have private money, right, basically, which is sufficient enough to do an entire deal, you don't need anybody else. Is that where you're leaning towards a little
Do you
bit?
have a person that has the private money, or is it you?
No, I have a person that has.
It's Jeannie. So I don't think she told you. So real quick, I'll just kind of preface this. What are you thinking about doing?
So I was either, because I would like to do larger multifamily, I just, just have like a duplex and single family and something, but I'd like to go further, right? Maybe
Okay.
like, start slow, maybe like a 6, an 8, or 10.
Okay.
But you can't do the residential financing stuff.
Sure.
So, but also because the portfolio is not, bigger, when I was looking into, well, what does commercial financing look like? Like, what are the requirements? And then, so, I was led to believe, they told me that I need to be more seasoned and be able to, know how to navigate something a little bit larger, right? So then I'm like, okay, well, how do I get there if I can't purchase
Right.
one of those?
Exactly. How do you get experience until you get a job, right? Because you can't get the job without experience.
You partner with experience. That's what you do.
That's one answer.
Jose, what I was gonna say is that, there's a gentleman, Jose had it on the board there, the note class,
Ah, right.
and he does a lot of stuff with Tom. I think it's Tom.
Tom? I think it's Tom.
Yeah.
Okay, so her question is, how does she get started, right? If she's got somebody that's got a lot of money, we'll say, Jeannie. And then, let's call her Jeannie, and say, if you're sitting on money, but she's trying to get started, okay? And she wants to buy something, maybe 20, 40 units, but knows that you need to start a little smaller, but now people are saying, well, but you have, what's your experience in real estate? It could be zero, that's perfectly fine.
No, I mean, I have a few rentals,
Okay,
but I've probably been renting for like a year and a half, 2 years.
okay,
I've just been landlording that amount of time.
Okay.
Prior to that, it was just learning.
okay. So you actually have a couple long-term rentals or short-term
I
rentals?
have a long-term
Uh-huh.
rental, and one that it was a midterm rental, now became a long-term rental, and then the other 2 are long-term rentals.
Okay, and you manage those yourself? Okay, so you've been managing some long-term rentals for a couple years. Okay, that's not zero. That's awesome. Okay, so what your question specifically is how do you structure the deal with the private equity or the private investor?
Yeah, so what I was trying to look at is, you know, well, first of all, is I haven't come across anything off market, right? But,
I know someone with an off-market deal in Phoenix. Exactly. 5%. Anyway, so sorry, that's my finder's fee. I don't know what to tell you. Sorry, go ahead.
right, so if you're, like, let's just assume we're looking at, we need 20%, right?
Mhm.
So I'm thinking, okay, what if I can get the private money just for the 20%?
Mm-hmm.
To start small.
Okay.
But, you know, you did present a good point, is just get it for the entire thing. But then it's, how do you structure deals like that? Because I want them to understand that they're gonna obviously get paid first, no matter what. That's always what you do, right? You're, whoever lends you the money. But that's kind of like getting started in how to have that conversation, because I know that it's there, but then I know I'm gonna get the questions, it's like, okay, well, how is this gonna look like? I
Right.
don't know that yet.
That's a great question. I will preface any answers by a show of hands. Who here is legally licensed to practice law in the state of Arizona? Or real estate law? Anyone? Okay, just make sure you understand. We can talk about this all night. Nobody here legally knows what how you should structure this deal. So just take everything with a word of advice. Because I know Todd's going to have something here, right? Because this is the sort of thing he does. Todd's just talking about how he's got a giant deal and he's got partners. They don't syndicate, right? I know Ken's in this boat too. I can't believe Alex hasn't said anything so far tonight. You must be off your game. Okay?
I'm just soaking up everything.
You're just soaking it up. Fair enough. Okay, so question is, what does a deal like this look like? And I tell you, it's a great question, because the question that you're really asking is I have this person that basically is willing to fund my deal, right? But there's certain legal sort of landmines here. For example, you can't just partner with somebody necessarily, or you have to worry about certain legal ramifications of the way that you do things and make sure that the entity or the structure is set up in such a way that you're not violating any potential laws. Now, most likely you're going to be just fine. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just saying that there are things that you need to be aware of. So it's a great question. So who wants to start?
I think that she probably just has a debt, investor. She's just someone who's gonna put down 20%, and you don't need to structure anything. It's gonna be you own it, you're the equity person. This person you're borrowing is probably at a great rate, that you probably wouldn't get off the street, this relationship that we have. I don't see a big structure of him getting paid more than any other entity, any other deal structure, unless you don't want to pay interest or something, or delaying interest, then maybe you need to structure that, but it sounds like you just have a rich friend who wants to, help you out, so.
Right. So basically a loan, just basically a straight loan, debt position from this person. What's the pitfall with that?
Well, yeah, someone to foreclose on you, but.
Okay. So you're talking about he taking a second position off of a traditional loan, or just full come in first position? Absolutely, right? You can guarantee the property with that. You can guarantee the loan with the property. Okay. So that's one possibility. Keep going.
It's not the best use of money to
Not
pay
because
cash
it's
for
his
stuff.
money or her money,
Right.
but.
I mean,
Although that's a tough call, right?
Well, if the person has like $1 billion, then yes, but if it's
Okay.
smaller amounts, then it doesn't make sense to, you should lever up what you're doing.
To a degree. However, right now, if interest rates are 8%, you can give it to your investor, you can give it to the bank, right? So that's one thing that I think people need to be a little thoughtful of. But coming in as a second position, right? What's the pitfall associated with the coming in as a second position?
More risk.
What's that?
More risk.
There's more risk. What's the key four-letter word? DSCR, right? Banks don't like when your 20% comes in as a loan, because it means that your whole asset's at risk.
And if you're
Right.
at 20%, that person's gonna be on the loan anyway.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Because they're putting in so much money.
The lender's gonna require anybody at a 20% interest or more to be on the loan.
Jose, going back to Kyle's answer, our question, it seems like all three of these are having a conversation, what does that person want? So
Exactly.
you're asking, what are you about structuring the deal? You're talking to the person with the money, what are they looking for? They might need to be on title, they may not need to be on title, so I think, for me, what I'm hearing is that sitting down with that person and saying, what are they looking for? Because they may have several thousand, $1 million, $1.5 million, and just wanna have a very passive, income. They may be one more involved, they may be wanna be on title. So it just depends on the conversation you're having with that person, kind of what politics to me is, going back to that question. What does your investor want to do? How much do they wanna be involved?
You also may be able to leverage your equity from your other investment properties. Thought about taking some cash out or doing some cross collateralizing, something like that.
Yeah, I do have a property that has quite a bit of, but I have golden handcuffs on that one, I feel like, cause you know, I have the 2.5%.
Right.
So I don't wanna touch it, but I'm thinking that I might have to, cause to leverage all the amount of equity that's there.
Yeah.
So you have to leverage the equity without having to sell the property.
Right, I don't think some are saying sell
I'm
it.
not saying
No.
sell it, I'm
But-
saying use a bank to leverage the equity, so you
Like
have.
a HELOC
Right.
or cash out.
Yeah,
refi?
you're trying to.
You can cash out refi, you can just, put that property as collateral and use that equity towards your payment. I mean, there's a lot of different ways.
You just have to do the
Right.
math, run the math all the way through.
Right.
Because you're gonna have a percentage, that money's gonna cost you money, and then where you're deploying it, you know, you just run the math.
You have a lot of options.
Yeah, but you don't have to refinance and change your interest rate, you don't have to, sell the property, cross-collateral.
Cross collateralization, right? So cross collateralization, again, where you have multiple properties, potentially equity in those properties, and you're gonna use that equity to basically back certain loans or to get out a little bit more money. I've seen them where, and that's the thing, I probably haven't done it enough, or I looked into it enough. I thought if I had two properties with equity, say 500,000 with loans, I would refinance that as a portfolio for cross collateralization. It doesn't work that way, okay. Because I also worry about losing my 2.5% interest rates or 3% interest rates. So you can actually get it just on, they'll come in a second position.
Yeah, they'll just put it basically a second lien on your property.
Oh.
Take some of that equity, as long as there's enough equity in the game for it to make sense. So
They'll
if
do
there was
it.
a foreclosure, that they would get paid off and
Gotcha.
everyone would get paid off and there'd be a certain amount of equity in the deal for it to be comfortable. But sounds like she has significant equity that she could tap into without having to refinance.
Okay, there you go.
Isn't it kind of like a second on a different property? That's kind of what
Yeah.
we're doing, putting a second on that property over there to buy
Right.
this property here.
That's awesome. Who's oh, go ahead, jump it, no, yeah.
Certain lenders know about that, like specialize in that, or should all lenders be aware to know of that?
In my experience, most lenders do that, are comfortable with that, but I would definitely explore a couple different options, and if you need some recommendations, I'll give you my business card again.
I think it's more of a specialty. When I looked for my properties, it was a specialty because a lot of banks they don't wanna touch investment property, first of all, especially with the second position.
It's just banks.
But certain lenders will, but again, you're paying, I was quoted like prime plus 2%, so I kind of turned it down. It was expensive money, wasn't cheap money, so you need to know what you're doing with that money.
5% now.
So,
Right.
and I have great credit, so it wasn't a credit issue, it's just a risk issue. And I think the risk can change, like, I may go back to them, next month, and they may give me whole different.
Yeah.
But at the time, it was prime plus 2.
I think if you talk to any commercial lender, they should know. In my
Yeah,
experience, if
commercial
you're talking to a
lending,
commercial lender and they don't
But
know, you need to talk to somebody.
Even within commercial lending, they don't touch, and I have 5 residentials in Maricopa County. Phoenix, all in Phoenix, 2 in Cleveland, so 7 total. But the thing is that even commercial, they don't like residential.
No.
They don't love it. They like commercial property, but trying to do a commercial on a residential, that's where you run into people saying, no, we don't touch it. So that's where you have to really climb, scrape through a lot of, say a lot of no's. I had a lot of no's before I got to a yes, and the yeses I got were expensive to me than were at the time. But
Right.
I'm sure they were.
I think the takeaway here is that, Summer's experience is different and, from other people's. When I go out and look for a second on a property, on a rental property, some banks are like, no, we're not even touching with it. But every so often you'll get a couple banks that are just like eager to start loaning money, right? It's all about the financial position of the bank, whether they're sitting on a bunch of money that they want to deploy as quickly as possible, and they may do that. So I would definitely reach out to as many people as possible. What's that?
The commercial guys, just, they don't love us.
And that may very well be
Commercial
true,
properties,
right?
and when they do these one-offs, you need to have a sizable portfolio for
Right.
they really wanna do with
But
it.
I think it's about asking,
They do.
you know.
So, I mean, you really gotta get a lot of those.
I think one thing that I would say is that it sounds like you've talked to a few banks that told you originally, like, we won't lend on this because, you don't have the experience, but, typically the asset kind of speaks for itself, especially in commercial real estate, so it's the income that tells the story, the debt service coverage ratio that's gonna tell the story a little bit, so, I mean, if you find the right one, you bring it to your friend and say, hey, we wanna do this, you can kind of shop it to the bank, and that can help too, so, I don't know, that's probably my closing thought, I would say, before all that, so.
It's just a lot of homework, because you gotta sit down with him, how much money you have, how much the asset gonna do that? Will he actually qualify for the property? If you only put 20% down, he only has 20% down, can he qualify for the rest of the money? There's a bunch of variables. So if you sit down and just do the numbers, find a property that, okay, he has $1 million, great. Go find a property, we can take 20% of that, put it down, but he can still qualify for the property, but you can buy the property, put 20% down. You just have to talk to him, see what you get comfortable with, but it's all on paper and numbers. You have to write down, say what he wants to do or what you wanna do. That way you can learn with him. Or you learn with somebody else and you start doing a project with somebody that does that all the time.
Does your money person have experience?
No.
So
completely
then you'll
different
need
sector.
someone else, because the banks need net worth, liquidity, and experience.
Yeah.
So the banks don't care if you, don't care how much money you have if you don't have
And
experience.
experience.
One of the things I've
Bigger
seen though,
deals,
that
right.
the experience is kind of a sliding scale. With my experience in looking at some of the lenders is that, yeah, the rate, and when you do commercial, it's the debt coverage ratio. But anyway, where one person with more experience might have a 1.25 coverage, meaning you gotta make 125% for the payment, and somebody with better experience, with a better property, might have to buy a 1.15 or something. So I think what Jose said is just asking around until you get the answer that you wanna hear. But it might take a lot of work and a lot of homework, with what a few other people are saying.
There's lenders that I've worked with that don't go based on your personal credit or your personal experience, they go just on the loan. And, I mean, those are more hard money lenders, but at least to get you into the property. But, yeah, there's some barriers.
It's gonna be more expensive. If
Well,
you have more
yeah, it's gonna
experience,
be
it's gonna
higher
be, that's,
interest
you can get the best rates.
Yeah.
Right.
But you can get in.
Track record.
But you can get in and he can always refinance it, you know, after a certain period of time, once you're
Or I guess I
seasoned.
would take my time and get a couple properties like that and do some. But,
That possibility exists.
yeah,
You know,
is
the-
that how you got into your multifamily? How did you do that?
I don't know, I think they just like me.
No, that wasn't it.
You know, that's a good question. So a couple things were working for me when I bought the 10 unit. One is that I had the experience of the single family properties. That helped a little bit. The other thing that helped was my W-2. He was basically like, yeah, you're a W-2. I said, and it's just FYI, it's a full recourse loan, meaning I'm fully responsible for the loan, even though it is a commercial loan, as opposed to non-recourse, meaning that they can't come after me if things go south. The DSCR, again, something that you should know, was 1.3 at the time. The rate was killer. It was only 25, and yeah, so all of those sorts of things, and also went with a small bank. I went with First Bank. So, for example, Chase, they're just going to deny me outright. But I went with Chase, talked to the guy, seemed real nice, you know, shake some hands, literally. We go to the bank, right? I go to the bank, I talk to people, I know the tellers, I know the bankers, I know these people, right? And they actually went in and they said, well, your DSCR is at 1.28. I said, he said, don't worry about it, we're going to talk about it in committee. They sit at a big table, they throw all the numbers out there, and the guy said, yeah, don't worry about it, you're good. So basically, because the deal worked. And it's been killing sense. So that was my first property. So there's a lot of little things that helped. And I think also they liked the deal. They thought that my business plan, what I was going to do, what the current rates were, what potential rates were, and all these sorts of things, they were kind of like, okay, this all makes sense. And And they bought, they bought in, they lent me the money.
What do they make it full recourse?
It's, my rents are
Somebody's calling that.
currently, my rents are currently double, I'm now renting at double what I bought it at, right now, what the average rent was. So, I felt good about it. Yeah, so full recourse means that I'm liable for the asset, or the loan. If things were to go south, they're gonna come after me. I probably went full recourse because of the terms.
It's your property, it's nice.
And it's mine, so I didn't remember, I didn't syndicate, I didn't borrow money from anybody. I refinanced my other properties, got the down payment, and I came in and I just took the thing down myself.
And that usually don't get you on non-recourse. If you're building your own portfolio, you're not buying stuff to give it back to the bank. You're buying something that's a good deal, and you're gonna stay in it. Now, when you're gonna bring in a big fish and a sponsor for the deal, then they're not gonna wanna do your deal and take on the recourse. However, every
Right.
loan has carve-outs in it. So nothing is really full non-recourse.
Right. Yeah, we talk about that concept of bad boy
We don't
clauses.
need to get way into the weeds on that.
Yeah.
It's just-
Did you have a question, Hollis?
I'm hearing great things about the assets and doing this and that, but being a novice like me,
Sure.
the problems I run into all the time is, okay, what's your credit score? So I've worked hard the last 4 or 5 years to get my credit score like 750. Not ecstatic, because I've never even had it over 700 before in my life. But when you listen to everybody here, you use the assets as the thing that you work for.
Correct.
But it's one where, when you're starting out, when you're novice, everybody's, the first line in there, oh, what's your credit score? I mean, we're gonna check your personal credit. Okay, well, go ahead. You talk about Chase. Chase, I sent out some letters to get credit cards on that. Chase was the one who sent me a $10,000 credit card. I
Right.
was like, well, I didn't even ask for this. But they started score, things are going good. I think I got a car loan with them, so that's why I think they did it today.
Or, oh,
So
sure.
that way, it's very discouraging when the first thing they ask you all the time is, oh, what's your credit score? It's like, oh, geez. So it went down a little bit because I had 7 inquiries on that stupid thing, but it'll go back up next month. But how do you kind of circumvent that when you're trying to get up the ladder with the properties and stuff like that? You want the property to be, check out the property. Don't worry about me. Just check out the property.
Summer's looking, he's eager.
I got lots of answers for that. So when you're dealing with your residential.
Can you guys hear her?
Barely.
Okay, perfect. Barely?
I talk loud, so, yeah, sorry.
So right now you're dealing with residential, which is gonna be really difficult to get around that, and you're not until you get to more towards commercial with some of these, lenders who focus on asset-based, right? Sometimes they're more expensive, or sometimes they're shorter term financing. The way that I got around it when I first started investing was just doing notes, or, using a seller carry, which is how I bought my first property without any credit. So you can definitely do something like that.
Okay.
And then others, you can go into partnerships and other things like that people were talking about earlier.
Thank you.
So, question, and
Yeah.
going back to what I was asking earlier, Hollis, is that why are you doing triplexes? Because, and you don't need to answer that here, but there's a big difference, and we can talk later.
Basically, I wanna live in one.
Well, let me finish, but the point is that 4 and below, like
Yeah.
Silver said, is one loan. 5 and more is a totally different asset. So you need to, my suggestion is find out why you're doing what you're doing. And some of it you can get around, some of it you can't, but,
Right.
we can talk later, but it's a big
Well, I
difference.
think, but I would definitely don't dismiss your VA benefits. If you're a vet, 4 and under,
Exactly.
right off the bat. I think
Yeah.
you're gonna be in a tough situation. If you get a 750 credit score and a vet, and you're a vet, 4 and under, I think is a no-brainer. Yeah, I don't even know what it is, but, yeah. So real quick, I just want to close with this blank thing. Who's seen this ideal? I bring this up because Melissa here, we started talking about this idea of what do your investors want, right? You can't figure out, how do you structure a deal? When I talk to investors, potential investors, and this goes back to Kyle's question, which is a constant theme, okay? How do I broach a talk with an investor, a potential investor, when I'm looking to see if they want to invest with me? Well, I have to know what their goals are. Okay, this thing is making its rounds. I saw it probably a few months ago from Justin, and I saw it once other online. I'm surprised I don't see this more often. Okay? Simple. There are 5 ways to make money in multifamily we talk about. 5 things that your investors need to be thinking about, or you need to understand what their position is on this, right? I is what? How do we make money on real estate? I is what? Come on. Income. Okay? D. Todd said it. Depreciation. What? D, what? Depreciation. Okay, perfect. E is what? Equity. A is appreciation. Appreciation. And L is what? Leverage. Okay? So, these are the ways that you can make money. And guess what? If you don't know what your investors' goals are, how are you going to convince them to invest? There are certain investors, all they want is income. You get people like Hollis. Does Hollis really give a crap if he's going to get depreciation when he's in a retired state and his income is way below the market? He doesn't care about depreciation. He needs dollars. Dollars in his pocket. That's income, cash on cash. But then you got people like Todd over here. Todd's rolling in cash. His mattresses are stuffed with it. He's looking for depreciation. Why? Because he wants to eliminate his tax or minimize his tax obligation today. Does that make sense? Appreciation, I'm looking for that long term. Okay? Summer over here is basically looking to buy an asset today and sell it for another extra, $30 million in 5 years. She wants appreciation. She doesn't care about this stuff right now because she's got a job. She's young, she's working. Okay, these things don't interest her. This is what interests her because she's going to sell this thing. Okay? Does that make sense? You don't understand what your investors' goals are. Why, how are you going to basically convince them to invest with you? Okay? So I'll leave you with that thought. We're going to move to the last portion of our program. Second to last portion of our program is who can we help? Oh, that's not right. I changed it. Shh. I like that this isn't last. And it's a thing. You can come and ask me. I'll tell you over beers. But we're going to do networking. So here's what I ask you to do. Get up. You've been sitting for, hour and a half. And just go up to people, tell them who you are, right? What's your name, first, middle, last? I don't really care. I'm not checking IDs. Okay, what part of the valley do you live in? It's funny when you ask people what part of the valley you live in because you can draw a connection sometimes. Okay, how do you spend your days? Okay, what are you doing? How do you spend your days? Trust me, I sit around as an aerospace engineer all day. Again, look at I'm so jazzed. Aren't you excited about that? Don't I just make it just kind of pop? Why are you here? What are you hoping to learn? Who are you hoping to meet? Things like that. Okay, Jeannie's obviously got somebody. Summer's looking for somebody to overpay for her property. Todd's looking for capital. Okay, Hollis is looking for just a way in, really, right? We're all looking for different things. Okay, who are you hoping to meet? And then share what you like to, do. So these are just some ideas. So we're going to do this for about, 15, 16 minutes, depends how I feel, and then do that. So get up, and then after that, we'll do one more thing, and then we'll go from there. So everybody up! Okay, coffee. How's it going, you think?
Yeah, just based here, you have to just have to.
So here's the story. I worked with a firm, my family firm, for a very long time, and we have an office out of Quartzsite. And we basically dominated Quartzsite. We bought out all the best agents, we did all the listings, we just totally took it over.
Okay.
Ever
How
since
big
then.
is it, like 50,000 people out there?
I know, it's not.
Did your question get answered?
Yeah, kind of. It did.
Kinda. What are you missing, do you think? Because there's something I think you're still looking for, but I'm not sure if you got it.
Delivery, I guess.
What is
Because,
it?
you know, so my investor tends to be my mother-in-law. So
Wait, your
there's-
investor tends to be your mother-in-law?
Well, she is my mother-in-law.
that makes
So,
sense.
but you know, we're trying to talk to her about two things because she's ready to retire.
Who isn't?
And she has 2 years that she wants to.
Do you want that?
So, welcome. Thank you for watching. This is the Multifamily, a monthly meetup. It happens on the third Monday of every month. Check as our calendar at AZREIA.org /calendar to see what our events are. We have about 15 networking events catering all real estate investors here in Arizona. So if you're in Phoenix, Tucson, come check us out. Go to AZREIA.org /calendar. And thank you for checking us out. Give us a like, subscribe if you liked it.